This is Filling the Sink, a podcast from Catalan News. My name is Lucía Benavides, and today we're talking about what it means for migrants to integrate into Catalan society. There are roughly 1.6 million foreign-born residents in Catalonia, almost 400,000 of whom live in Barcelona. They come from all over the world: Pakistan, China, Venezuela, Senegal, Romania. But the stats don't tell us the full story. Why did they come here? Are they adapting to life in Catalonia? Do they feel at home or completely out of place? Today, we'll hear from a number of migrants who spoke to us at the Barcelona International Community Day last weekend. We'll also talk to a professor of cross-cultural management, and we'll discuss our own experiences abroad. Here to talk with me about the complexities of migrating are reporters Gerard Escaich Folch.
Hi, Lucía.
And Cillian Shields.
Bon dia.
Okay, so first things first. Two of us are not from here, Cillian and I. I'm from Argentina, but was raised in the US from a young age. And Cillian, as you may tell from his accent, is from Ireland.
Yes, I am. Living here for 7 years, though, so I'd like to think that I'm relatively well integrated into the society here.
Yeah, okay, a little bit like me. I'm gonna hit my 7-year mark in January, so
Nice,
almost
very
there.
nice.
And Gerard, even though he's Catalan, he has spent some time abroad. Where did you go? How long was that for?
Well, that depends on the time you want to ask. I've been to Australia, Canada, France, but the time I spent the country I spent most time abroad was in France for almost 3 years.
Okay, and how was your experience there?
Oh, well, it was quite close to home, so it's not that different culturally. It's not that a shock of culture clashes, but yeah, no, it was quite good.
Yeah, still a different country, so
Exactly.
still a bit of adapting to do there.
Dinner at earlier times, perhaps.
Yeah, that was quite tricky, but I got used to it at the end.
That's the biggest
Did
thing.
they have olive oil down in the south of France?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so
But
you were happy.
To be fair, I was buying Spanish olive oil.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, so that actually kind of segues perfectly into the topic that we have today, which is integration and how people integrate in new countries and how much you hold on to your roots, your traditions from home. So I want to start out by discussing our own reasons for migrating and our own experiences as migrants. For me, that's divided into two parts because I migrated twice. So when I was 9 years old, I migrated with my parents and my two brothers from Buenos Aires, Argentina to Austin, Texas, because of the economic situation in Argentina getting very bad. And my dad, who's a geneticist, had a job opportunity there. So in that case, I didn't have a decision in the matter. I went because I was a child, but when I was 27 years old, I decided on my own to come to Barcelona and work as a foreign correspondent. So I'm curious kind of Gerard, why did you go to France for those 3 years? Not to eat their olive oil, I suppose.
It was just because of a job opportunity. They hired me to work in an international media outlet over there in France, in Lyon, close 2 hours away from Paris. And yeah, I spent there, it was just because of work, not because I wanted to move out. Well, I didn't mind moving out, but I didn't choose the destination. It chose me.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Cillian? What brought you here?
What brought me here? Yeah, I have a sort of a difficult time kind of explaining why I came here, I suppose. I don't know if it's more that I had opportunities or didn't have opportunities in Ireland. It was sort of in between, I suppose. I could have chosen to stay, but I felt definitely like I had more opportunities to come here. I could already speak Spanish. I couldn't yet speak Catalan coming here. So I had that kind of advantage of coming here as a bilingual person. But yeah, the situation in Ireland back home is very difficult at the moment, for our generation especially. The housing market is absolutely crazy, and the job market as well is not that amazing, I suppose. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of felt with all these factors combining, yes, I could have stayed, but it definitely felt like I had far more room to grow if I left Ireland.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So both of you were at the Barcelona International Community Day last Saturday, and you met a lot of foreigners there. Can you tell me a little bit about the event and what visitors to the fair talked to you guys about?
Well, it was quite interesting, to be fair, because as a person living here and so like a Catalan, I didn't need that fair, but I felt like if I had known that fair existed in other places, it would have been interesting for me to visit. And it was kind of like several institutions, including us, Catalanians, we were there. Several institutions explaining some and giving some recommendations and helping out foreigners or expats who just arrived to Barcelona. So it was kind of a way of like welcoming them.
Okay,
And
interesting.
yeah.
It was also great to meet lots of readers and listeners to the website and
nice.
podcast as well. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for saying hi.
Nice.
Yeah, and even thanks to them, they just came up and said hi, and we said, okay, do you want to feature in the next podcast? So tell us your experience about immigration and integration into Catalonia.
Okay, perfect. Let's hear what they said.
One of the first things that we asked to see if visitors feel they are a part of the social fabric of the city was how language can help people integrate. Susanna Magyar is a Hungarian researcher living and working here.
I think it's really helpful. I think people really appreciate if you try in Catalan, and I think they are very proud of their language and their culture, and they are really nice people when you talk to them.
I would say that I am not assimilated into the culture.
That's Derek Lumpkins from the US, who has just moved here 6 months ago.
I still don't know Catalan. I still need to work on my Spanish. I don't know a lot of people here. You know, there's still even holidays. I don't know what holidays are happening and when they're happening and what they're for.
Serhii Ritsan from Ukraine arrived in Catalonia in December 2021, and he says learning the language is not enough.
I have to find a way to blend in, to meet the local people, and this is where I'm still struggling, because I don't have in my routine clear ways of meeting and like the ways that local people live their life. I cannot share it with them, both to the language barrier, but also to the the cultural barrier that is broken up with a bit of language. So it's like a circle that I struggle a little bit to break. Yeah.
Daryl Kluskowski from the US has been here for a year, and he is still struggling with the language, but feels well integrated into society.
Yeah, my favorite is at the local market, getting to know the fruit the guy who sells us our fruits and vegetables, Salvo. He's awesome. It's at La Baseria, and we love him. And he teaches me Catalan because he speaks very little English, and I speak no Catalan, but he's helping. So it's been really good.
I did a telemedicine call.
That's Jamie Novak, who went to the fair along with Daryl.
And my doctor and I really bonded. And so she and I have actually gotten together socially a few times. And we even went up the Costa Brava together. And
getting involved in local customs and traditions is another way that foreign residents can meet locals, as Nimesh Chahari, an Indian PhD student here, explains.
Initially, I made a lot of Catalan friends because of my workplace, and I could get into the activities they were doing, and then somehow I got into the different traditions in Barcelona particularly. So I always go because some people are in Coya, do the Corre folk. So you go with them. It's quite nice event to go, and also a lot of festa majors, and I also try to go to the Centre Civics, and they organize a lot of events. So I feel it's part of taking part a little bit. But I think I have to get on with my Catalan because if you don't get it, it's a bit difficult to go into attending Centre Civic events particularly.
FC Barcelona, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, is how a lot of people first come into contact with Catalonia. This was the case for Serhii Ritsan.
I had a dream since my childhood because of football club that I may visit, then I visited, then I loved the city. I experienced the culture a little bit. I opened the books of history and stuff. It was interesting for me.
Thank you to everyone there who shared their thoughts with us. So it's interesting because we heard from different people who have different ideas of what integrating looks like. So I guess this means that there's no one definition of what does it look like to integrate, in this case, into Catalan society?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised at times when I heard some people saying that they felt very integrated, but then I quickly realized that what I was surprised at was the fact that their definition was clearly different to my definition of feeling integrated into the society. So maybe a lot of the people, their social circles were mostly comprised of international people, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic to see the diversity and the culture, cross-cultural pollination, this kind of thing. But when I think of my own definition of being really integrated here, I think of like the festas majors, the sort of the traditions like this, the correfoc, the taking part in even the language, even just being in tune with the issues of the city, the politics, this kind of thing. So when I see, and I've got lots of friends as well and other neighbors who are from different countries as well who have no interest in like kind of engaging with the day-to-day issues or things like that, that's kind of important to the city or the country. And so that to me is different in my own definition of being integrated into the society.
Yeah, made you reflect on, maybe there's more than one definition of integrating. Yeah,
absolutely. But I have to say, like, I love like being in tune with like the pop cultural references here.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good kind of benchmark because, like, obviously, I'm a foreign-looking person, so when I say things to like people in a bar, something like "Buenas, cómo están las máquinas?" Like these kind of like in jokes that like you have to be really kind of ingrained into the society to understand.
Yeah,
and people see that from me. I'm like a blue-eyed, very white-skinned Irish man.
You feel proud, like reading memes.
Yeah, and I can see the surprise in their eyes as well.
Yeah. And do you feel integrated, Cillian, or?
For my own definition, I do.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah. What about you, Gerard? Did you feel integrated into French society?
It was kind of a difficult time for me because it was during COVID. So obviously, everything was quite complicated, and I was working long hours because, after all, there were a lot of news. But I tried to learn, to remember a little bit of the French I knew. I tried to do things outside of work. So I tried to, obviously, like if bars and restaurants were closed for 10 months,
it was
a
a little bit hard.
Complicated.
Yeah, limited you. Yeah. And I think sometimes it can fall in the middle, right? Because I feel like I personally fall in the middle. Like my boyfriend is Catalan and I know his family and I meet with his friends, but most of my own personal friends are from all over the world. And so there's kind of there's never like a black and white answer, I guess, or a black and white way to be integrated, because it's also important to stay in tune with your own roots and cultures. And I have a lot of American and Argentine friends here, which is like literally my two identities. So I don't think that was a coincidence.
There's one way to solve this issue.
What is it?
What are you celebrating, Castañada or Halloween?
I think that one is, you can't compete with Halloween. I'm sorry. But chocolate and candy versus roasted chestnuts. I am celebrating Halloween this week by having friends come over and carve pumpkins, but there will probably be castañadas there as well.
Not bad.
Which,
can I point out, you're also eating a traditional Halloween Irish cake.
It's so
May
good.
I point out?
Yes,
Barmbrack.
Barmbrack. Okay, and it's kind of, tell us what it's made of again.
So it's a sort of a very fruity kind of sweet cake. And this is, I suppose, one example of me kind of mixing my own traditions. Like this is an Irish thing that I've brought to all of you guys here now today.
I'm very grateful.
But one thing that's like
thank you.
One thing that's very interesting in it that I haven't told you yet, but this is traditionally made with items baked inside the cake. And if you happen to find one of the items in your piece, they have different meanings. So one can be a matchstick, which means you'll be married, but the marriage will be an unhappy one.
Oh my God.
There's another thing like a pea, which means you won't get married at all. But you can get a ring. That's the most common thing. A ring means you're going to get married kind of very soon, this year.
And it's going to be
marriage
good?
orientated.
Yeah, really?
Yes, and it will be good.
Okay, because most of them sounded negative so far.
We have something similar here in Barcelona, in Catalonia, the Tortell de Reis.
Of course,
Men, the king's pastry, and you have like...
It's like a little baby, right, that you find? No.
Am
I remembering?
Little figurine
it's a little
of one of the
figurine.
kings.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another one of like a hard bean, which means you have to pay for the whole cake if you get that.
Look at that integration.
Yeah, I've had that before too. We're integrated, Cillian. We've both had this. I got the little figurine ones. So this kind of mix of cultures, I think is very beautiful. But we should talk about how this event, this fair that took place last weekend, is mostly targeted towards English-speaking migrants who, I think is fair to say, tend to be middle class and up. And so this experience isn't necessarily reflective of every foreign-born resident, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the word professionals is used often in the marketing communication to sell the event to people who are looking for it. And yeah, certainly. Definitely there's a wide variety of people from all sorts of different socioeconomic backgrounds living here. And I think it's probably fair to say that this event is catered toward one certain sector of that.
Yeah, and I'm curious, did you guys talk to anyone who could maybe speak about, other people's experience integrating into Catalonia, especially people who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds? Maybe they're here as refugees, and so, you don't have as much time to learn a new language, meet local people because you're focused on getting work and getting papers also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We spoke with Marina Ruiz Tada. She's a professor of cross-cultural management in Barcelona's Ramon Llull University, La Salle. And she explains the difference between all these people that come from, let's say, northern countries or even the US or even South Africa, which socially speaking, we see them as an asset for the culture, and others who are migrants who come by, refugees who need to escape from their country or flee their country because of political or economical reasons. And she mentions that those are two different kinds of, concepts, socially concepts, because one is considered an asset and the other one needs to prove they are an asset to the society.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's hear a little bit more about what she said.
A lot of the times, expatriates are not weighed down with the same level of responsibility. And in this discussion, a lot of the discussion around power as well as privilege is not there. So those who come from more higher socioeconomic places may not be required to prove themselves in the same way. Whereas people who come from lower socioeconomic countries or backgrounds might be forced to prove themselves as an asset to the country. Whereas people who consider themselves expatriates are almost automatically seen as assets to the country. So if you just take a quick Google search on the word expatriate, it's about tips for moving abroad. It's about how to integrate your children into the new host country. What kind of adventures can you have? What kind of food can you explore? What kind of place should you live? Whereas when it comes to the term migrant or immigrant, it's about the immigrant problem or the migrant problem, right? It's usually still associated with stigma. For immigrants who come from the global south or who come from, places or who might be more vulnerable, there's racism at play, there's classism and discrimination at play, right? So not only is it their access to education and health or housing or employment, maybe even their educational degrees or training from abroad are not going to be recognized or given any credit in Catalonia, right? So there needs to be a much more comprehensive definition of what integration actually means, right? What does it mean in practice? And the EU in general considers it this bi-directional process with shared responsibility on both the immigrant side as well as the host country side. But the ways of achieving integration really differs from region to region, as well as the fact that it's very loosely defined. So sometimes people define it as the process of learning the language, succeeding in employment and work and the education system. And sometimes it even means intermarriage, right? And whereas sometimes people may define it as an emotional thing, a feeling of achieving a type of normalcy or belonging into their new home. When we talk about letting go of our the norms of what we're coming from, that's more a process of assimilation. I think the process of integration tries to at least ask immigrants or people who come over to take some responsibility, I guess, in learning the language and learning the cultural norms and values here. unfortunately, it's not always bi-directional, and that's the problem with this integration approach.
Thank you to Marina for talking with us. I noticed she used the terms expat and migrant, and I think this is interesting because the media definitely paints a different picture for each term. So you kind of hear the term expat heard in the context of like wealthy, usually white migrant or person who migrated, and migrant tends to have a more negative connotation in media. And I know that this is like a debate that's been going on for a long time that I've heard myself. But I don't know what more did she say about these terms?
Well, one of the things that she told me is that leaving the media aside, in the academic spectrum, there is no definition for expert. Well, each academic has its own definition, so obviously they have to define the term expatriate between what do they consider expatriate, or someone who's going like for an international assignment, is that an expat, or it's just like someone who's traveling abroad for like work. And that's one of the things that she told me, that in the academic world there's no exact definition, so obviously it all depends on like social conceptions. How
people use it, right? Okay, yeah. Well, me personally, I consider myself a migrant. I think because I've, like I mentioned before, migrated twice, so it's very attached to my identity. And my grandparents also migrated to Argentina. And I think the beauty of migrating is that you become culturally malleable. You take what works from here and from there, and you become a sort of kaleidoscopic person, like this merger of different cultures and languages and identities. It's time now for Catalan phrase. What is it this week?
I think as the Catalan, I'm supposed to
show
you the
please,
integration
Gerard.
process.
Yes, teach
A la
us.
tardor, ni fred ni calor.
Okay. A la tardor, ni fred ni calor. And it means, Cillian?
In the autumn, neither hot nor cold.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think there's an equivalent expression in English, right?
I don't think
I've
so.
never
It's
heard
got a nice
one.
rhyme to it in Catalan.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't
makes
work
sense.
in English. Okay.
But I can absolutely feel how it's true, because like you arrive to work in the morning and it's like cold, you need to put layers on. But then after that, it gets very warm during
you go
the
out
day.
for lunch and the sun is shining, and yeah.
It's that time of year,
Catalonia.
it's almost impossible to dress right.
Yeah, just layers. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, Cillian and Gerard, for being here. Thank you also to Marina Ruiz Tada and everyone who shared their experiences with us at the Barcelona International Community Day. We'll be back next Saturday with another episode of Filling the Sink. In the meantime, you can catch us on social media or email us at fillingthesink@acn.cat. On behalf of the entire team here at Catalan News, I'm Lucía Benavides, wishing you a wonderful weekend. Goodbye, ciao, adeu.